Namaskar, good afternoon and very warm welcome to all our viewers and learners in this live phone-in session of CIET NCERT. I am Renu Bhatt with you all and you are watching us live on PMeVIDYA channel, channel number 5 and on our NCERT official YouTube channel. And dear learner, this is our special session of teaching learning intervention for inclusive classroom where we try to enhance our knowledge towards inclusive classroom setups. So in this specific session we are going to learn more about a poem that is My Shadow, and as you can see I am accompanied by our sign language interpreter. Let's meet her. You are Miss Bhumika Lohia. Welcome Bhumika. And as I've already told you about the topic that is My Shadow, let me tell you for this session we have our expert with us. You are Miss Kulvinder Kaur. You are TGT English from Sarvodaya Kanya Vidyalaya, Vijay Enclave, Delhi. Very warm welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, hello. Thank you, Renu.
And this specific session is for 5th standard English student. My shadow. So what exactly shadow is and how we can form it? Is it natural for all the objects to have their shadows? Although it's a science topic, but why we are discussing it in this English session? So I have so many questions, so I'm assuming you all have curious too. So let me tell you the ways through which you can connect to us with all your doubts and queries. You can call us, you can email us, and even you can drop a comment also. You can call us on our telephone number, that is 8800-440-559. Either you can drop a mail at our email address, that is dth.class5th@ciet.nic.in. And in case you have joined us through our live streaming, that means you are on our YouTube channel, go to the live chat box and drop your comment out there. Our expert will be happy to answer all your queries and doubts. So let's begin this topic, ma'am. And as I have a doubt, at the very beginning I share this also here, although it's a science topic, my shadow, or we can say shadows. So what exactly that topic is doing in English session, ma'am?
Okay. That's a very good question and very nice pointing that you have made, and you have answered it well as well, because in science we do it shadows, and over here in class 5 Marigold book we have My Shadows. It's relating that abstract concept of shadows. In science this is a kind of abstract concept, and children find it difficult. It is difficult for the normal children as well as the children with special needs, because they have to do certain extra efforts for understanding. So relating it with their own experiences, simplifying it, it is a way to simplify the difficult concept. Okay. By means of poems and stories. We had been doing this. So it is the only reason that we have related it with the child's experience, so that child can relate it with their own experience. They do these activities and they learn what the children in this poem are experiencing with shadows, and how can they relate it with their shadows.
Okay, so we can say it's a interdisciplinary approach and need of the hour, right?
Yeah, indeed it is an interdisciplinary approach that we have been using.
Right, ma'am. It's a beautiful approach. And so ma'am, if we begin this session, right, so what exactly you have as a content in this session?
Yeah, okay. Today we'll I'll first tell you what is the theme of this poem, and then we'll do a short summary of the poem, and so that, because we need to know that what we are doing, and then we have to have a good plan for taking it to our children, whether they are normal children or children with special need, because if we have a good plan, then we can take it further, and so that we can do the inclusion in a better way for each and every child, because each and every child of our class is important for us. And introducing how to introduce it, because it has to be something interesting, so that it promotes the critical thinking and creativity of the child, and that is the main motto of language.
Ma'am, inclusion talks about holistic development of a child, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So shall we begin the session with the poem?
Yeah. I'll just tell you that what is the theme of this poem. In this poem, a child is being portrayed, that how excited he is and how thrilled he is to look at his own shadow and experiencing those experiences, that how the shadow is moving, how it is getting bigger, and whether the shadow is jumping before him or after him. So these are the different kinds of experiences that a child experiences, which the R.L. Stevenson, the writer of this poem, explains beautifully. And if talking about the summary, that he tells that there is a boy and a girl who moves, who have different experiences with the shadow, that what I had been doing, if I am awake early in the morning, when can I see the shadow? So these are the difficult some concepts that we read as facts in science, and then it is presented in the form of the experiences of a child in the poem.
And it's also very important to know where we can have shadows.
Yes, where we can have shadows.
Right.
What all do we need? What do we need? We need an object and light and some screen for that shadow.
Yes, ma'am.
So after this we will introduce this to the children. And how can we introduce this to our children? We can introduce it in the form of a riddle, because children love riddles.
Right, ma'am.
So means what if they love the riddles? So whatever they love, can we go on with that? But do the riddles also help them?
Ma'am, yeah, exactly, that is the point, but I just wanted to know about the special needs student. Does it help them also?
Yes, it promotes the critical thinking, and it presents, it gets them into the mode, and they link, the children with special needs, they link their previous knowledge with their earlier experiences through this, and it is presented to them in the form of smaller sentences. So they comprehend it much more faster, much more easier, and it promotes their critical thinking and creativity. So they get into the mode of that learning. They understand through the means of communication, because shadow is something that they can't feel. They can't touch and feel.
Right.
But they get into the mode of it, that what we are going to do and how we can get related to that. And let's see. We have an example, we can see it on our screen, that how we can present this riddle to all our children, and how it can help our children with special needs. So we ask the students that when we go out in the sun, we have it.
Okay.
So some students can, they can feel, okay, when we go out in the sun, what do we have? Means we have goggles, we have umbrella. What we are going to, it promotes their thinking. It starts igniting their responses. So spark is, some kind of spark is there. And every child, they want to give the response. But then we have to have the rules, that okay, how we are going to move about it. And then we'll put up the second sentence to them, because this is a complete riddle. So we see it on the ground. Now umbrella and goggles are not on the ground. If we go out in the sun and we see it on the ground, and it moves along with us. And what is that? It moves along with us. Means you see how the child is getting involved in that, and it is exactly like us. Now what is that which is exactly like me? This is something that is exactly like me, but may vary in size, and it is black in color and doesn't speak. We do speak. We have clear distinctive features, but our shadow, does it have the features?
No.
So these are the kinds of the thoughts that are coming into the mind of each and every child of my class, whether they have low vision or they are visually impaired. Means they all get into this process of thinking, because they all are getting into the process of through this smaller sentences and riddles.
So ma'am, how can we explain this shadow concept to our children with special need?
So they are interacting, they are listening to the responses of their peers. Means they have comprehended, they have heard these sentences, they are watching it on the screen as well, so they can read it, and they are listening to the responses given by their peers, and they are learning from their experiences.
Peer means their buddy or their classmates?
Their buddies, their classmates, all the students, and we can pair them in groups. So they are interacting, and through the other experiences, as we all learn from experiences of others as well.
Right.
So in this case, shadow, the concepts of shadow and light, they communicate, they listen to the others' experiences, and they get to know it, and they process it in their brains. So this way they can see the shadow as well. And then a question arises that now they have got into the process. Now how we can take this further? How we can relate it with their own experiences? So for that we can take them out in the sun. We can ask them to make a circle and then read this poem over there, because every child with a visually impaired, they can at least feel the warmth. So they realize that when we are going out in the sun, there's light, there's some source of light. They can feel it, and then they realize that okay, we are doing shadows over there. So that means shadow need to have some light, and a shadow is then formed, and then after
so here
that
comes the science part, right?
Yes, the science part with their experiences. Means if we say in science we are learning it only in the class and or in the lab or through the books or the facts we have told. So here we are relating it with their experience. We are letting them experience it, and when they are connected with their buddies or their peers, they understand. Their peers also help them. Okay, now we are going to jump. Now the teacher asks them to make a circle, because now we just can't leave all the children just like this. Okay, just observe your shadows. It has to be a much more guided way.
Right.
So
exactly.
for guidance, teacher speaks up the question, put up the question, and gives them the instructions. Like let's stand in the circle, and now we can ask, okay, shall we jump now? So when they jump, so teacher asks, now who jumps first?
You or
your shadow.
Okay.
Who jumps first? Who landed on the ground
First.
First? If you are jumping a step ahead, so your shadow is a step ahead. You earlier before you. So that's the kind of the question, and then the peers tell it to their buddies, their peers, the children with special need. So they can visualize it very clearly that okay, now they have seen it and they are telling me, okay, this is the way that they are jumping, and shadow is also jumping, and they are visualizing it. And then let's we can ask them to jump one by one in pair. And then when a child with special need is also jumping, his peer could tell him that your shadow jumped before you, and it landed prior to you landed on the ground. Before you landed on the ground, your shadow jumped first. So that is where they are doing it by themselves, but they are getting the experience of that from the communication by their peers,
right.
or in the group. So that way. And will your shadow be the same size always?
No, not
If
exactly.
they are, yes. So these are the kinds of the questions, and for this we can take them out in the sun at the different time of the day and do this poem. Then a teacher can sing this poem. We'll be singing this poem.
Can
later
we
on.
start the poem?
Okay. So, but before that, I also want to tell you that it is not only in the sun only that we can start this poem. Maybe it's raining outside or there's no sun.
Yeah, that could be possible.
That
if
could
we are
be
going
also.
out,
So
sun is the.
So
there are so many restrictions.
Are we not going to do this poem? No, we can do it in the class, and here on the screen you can see that how we can initiate this in the class, that we can use a torch light. And if we are not using the torch these days, we can use the mobile phone torch as well.
Right.
And we can use any object, leaf or flower, and put light on that.
So we need only three major things. We need light, we need an object, and we need a surface.
Yes, an object that would
Not transparent.
Not transparent. That would block the light from going there.
Exactly.
So that the child learns that if something is blocking the way of the light, it casts shadow. So we don't have to just make them feed. It is not kind of spoon feeding. They are learning it by doing and their own experiences. Now you see that there is the shadow of this flower, and then we can do this activity also further in the class, that we show them this. Now the children see it and they feel that the shadow of this vehicle is exactly the same.
So teacher can ask from students what this
what this shadow look like, and otherwise also we can do it as a vice versa.
Vice versa
means we can show the shadows of the objects to the students. We can give it to them in the pairs, and then ask them. The other person, buddy, could describe that vehicle or that shadow to their peer, to the children with special needs. They can describe it. Okay, इसमें क्या है, क्या दिख रहा है, किस चीज की ये shadow हो सकती है. अच्छा, कुछ गोल गोल है, कुछ गुब्बारे जैसा है, या कुछ हल्का है, हवा में उड़ाते हैं. और child can, if they had that vocabulary, they have learned that vocabulary because the
यहाँ पे जब आपने बताया कि बच्चे जो पीयर ग्रुप है या फिर जो बडी है वो एक्सप्लेन करेगा, तो जो हमारे स्पेशल नीड बच्चे हैं वो इमेजिन करेंगे. तो यहाँ पे इमेजिनेशन का बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल हो गया.
इमेजिनेशन, विजुअलाइजेशन, तो आई थिंक दे आर गॉड गिफ्ट्स एंड दे कैन विजुअलाइज मच मोर बेटर.
तो दे कैन इमेजिन व्हाट थिंग्स आर नॉट इन द सेम वे. मतलब कि अगर कुछ चीज है और पियर ने या बडी ने कुछ और तरह से डिस्क्राइब किया है चीजों को,
तो देयर द रोल ऑफ द टीचर कम्स इन.
ओके,
देयर टीचर इज नॉट, इट इज नॉट दैट टीचर इज नॉट देयर. टीचर हैज टू बी प्रेजेंट देयर एंड वेरी मच विजिलेंट, एंड दे पेयर द चिल्ड्रन अकॉर्डिंगली कि कौन बच्चा वहां पे हेल्प कर पाएगा, तो उसी बच्चे को वहां पर पेयर अप टीचर करेंगे. कि ये नहीं कि जिसको थोड़ा कम नॉलेज है या नहीं, अभी वो खुद लर्निंग फेज में है, स्लो लर्नर है, तो दैट चाइल्ड इज ऑल्सो अ चाइल्ड विद स्पेशल नीड एंड दैट ऑल्सो नीड्स केयर एंड सपोर्ट. सो टीचर हैज टू मेक द पेयर्स अकॉर्डिंगली विद ग्रेट केयर. तो अभी ये देखा आपने. फिर उसके बाद में हम आइडेंटिफाई द ऑब्जेक्ट फ्रॉम इट शैडो. जैसे हमने कहा, आप स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम बच्चों को दिखा सकते हैं कि ये शैडो आ रही है. अब ये शैडो किस चीज की है? नाउ लेट द चिल्ड्रन गेस. एंड व्हाट डू यू थिंक, रेनू, व्हाट दिस शैडो इज अबाउट?
मैम, इट्स बलून्स.
इट इज द शैडो ऑफ द बलून्स. यस. एंड नाउ हियर
इट्स एयरप्लेन.
It's aeroplane. And we can give this idea, we can put it on the screen as well, or we can give prepare flashcards and show it to the students so that they can have the idea of what the shadow is. And besides that, there is another activity that we can do with the classroom objects itself. Anything they have in their bag, we can pair them in groups, and they can take, every child, whether it is a child with special needs, they can take out one or two things out of their bags, and now they can create a shadow, and using the torch they can place it at different positions and take it far away. It is like a game for the children, and they are actually observing all these shadows and noting down their own experiences with this. So this is that how the shadow. Now see the shadow of a ball, small ball, and a big ball, a football. How they are looking different. How they can align the things, and in the order of their increasing, means which shadow is bigger and whose shadow is smaller, and when. So this way they can keep a small ball and make a big shadow,
right,
by taking the source of light torch nearer to the ball, so the shadow will be big. The ball will remain the same size.
Yeah, they can play as well. It's quite interesting activities, I guess. So we all enjoyed the activity by ourselves. We have done so many times, right, ma'am?
Yes.
So can we begin the poem, ma'am?
Yes. And for introducing the poem, we can show these pictures. These pictures are from the book, and we can tell our students that in this poem, my shadow is an experience of a boy and a girl, of their own shadows. That what kind of things they observe. They had some funny experiences with their shadows. we had been doing all these funny experiences. So, do you also want to know their experiences?
Sure, ma'am.
So, we can show these two pictures from the book itself. And in this picture, you can see that there is a shadow of a boy bigger than the boy. And in another picture, what can you see?
It's a smaller shadow than the boy or a girl.
A girl is there.
Huh.
A girl is there, and you see the shadow is already lying on the bed, and a girl is trying to get on the bed. So, it means let the children read these pictures, and then they can get into the mode, and we can ask these kinds of questions, that what do you see in the first picture?
Ma'am, before answering the question, shall we move towards the poem?
Okay, so here we'll read the poem. The students have already answered that, and then we can move on to the poem that goes like this. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me, from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. One morning, very early, before the sun, I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. So he's trying to say that when I got up before the sun was up. So there's no sun. Getting the point?
Right.
When there is no sun, there was no shadow. So he felt that he has moved out, and there was dew on every flower, every yellow flower that he is mentioning as buttercup, and but his shadow is not with him. So he assumes that his shadow is still asleep in the bed, because it get into the bed before the girl get into the bed. So this is the beautiful poem.
Such a beautiful poem, yes ma'am. So ma'am, shall we move towards the keywords?
Yes.
Okay.
So here are the keywords.
As usual, we have 3 keywords for this session. Dear learners and viewers, our first keyword is shadow. Shadow. Our second keyword is buttercup. Buttercup. Third keyword is errant. Errant. So ma'am, do you have any homework for our learners, ma'am?
Yes, I do have 2 questions for them. So they can reread the poem, and they can read it with their peers, their friends. Teachers can do the choral reading and the group reading. It helps the children with special needs, because they hear when all their peers are reading, they hear. And you know that if they are not comfortable in choral reading or group readings, because they tend to read at a lower pace than the normal children, so they can read it in the pairs as well, and teacher can ask them to read turn by turn.
Okay.
So they can read the poem, and then we can move on to the homework. Then there are 2 questions. That what do you think your shadow looks like? We can you can tell, you just observe your shadows, and you can tell us that what your shadow looks like. And the second question is, what time of the day do you think it is when your shadow is the tallest? What is the time of the day? Is the shadow same at every time.
So they have to observe.
They have to observe. They'll observe and they can relate it with their own experiences.
Right.
So, but we have certain modifications to this homework as well, and we have converted into the multiple choice question. And first question is, who does your shadow look like? It looks like your friend, my friend, or my mom, or me, or my father. Who does my shadow looks like? And what time of the day? It is the same question, but over here we have given certain options, that what time of the day do you think it is when your shadow is the tallest? Is it morning, afternoon, evening, or night?
And very interestingly, you have an activity for homework, right? So what that is?
There is an activity which all children would like to do, whether it is the children with special need or the normal children. They all love to do certain activities and get engaged into that. So here we have given an activity that we can ask because as we are moving offline and we can move to places and work in groups, so it's a group activity that because they need to be assigned with certain group or certain friend who can tell them what is the experience they are having. So they can work in group of 5 with your friends and make a shadow of your hand on the wall using a torch. Now how they will make a shadow? They need to have, means wall acts as a screen, we have already talked, and hand acts as an object from which the light cannot pass, and they will use torch as the source of light, and then they can change the position of the torch and observe the changes in the shadow and discuss among your groups and share your experiences with each other. When they'll share all their experiences with each other, they can tell that what type of shadow they are having with their hand. So this is all about our homework activity. And
ma'am, now would you like to add something, as we have couple of minutes?
Okay, as I have already told you that means one thing I wanted to make clear, that the children with the special needs, they need to read, because in this how will they read? They can read it by getting engaged to their pair. Now the pairs have to be made accordingly. Teacher has to take a lot of care in making up the pairs.
And this is what, if we talk about the shadows, this is not that something we just need to read or write. It's more than read or write, right?
Yes,
it's observation
experiencing.
Yeah, experiencing.
Yes, experiencing, having experiences, and that's why we call it My Shadow.
My Shadow. That was beautiful poem, ma'am. Thank you so very much for being with us. Thank you so very much for your detailed information on this poem, My Shadow. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And it's time for me to wrap up this session, but let me thank our sign language interpreter, Bhumika. Thank you so very much for being with us. And let me wrap up this session. You stay tuned with PMeVIDYA channel and on our NCERT official YouTube channel. Me, Renu Bhatt, is signing off. Namaskar.